Samar, Nada, Samar, Nada, Mirna, Lucy, Matar, Mirna, Lucy, Matar, Kiki, Hania, Kiki, Hania. Welcome back, guys. I'm just admitting some friends who are joining. Omar. In the room now, I have with me Peter, Mashali, Basant, Karim, Samar, Nada, Mirna, Luji, Matar, Kiki, Hania, and Omar. Which means we have about 13 guys so far. Okay. Waiting for some other friends to join. So again, I have Peter, Mashali, Basant, Karim, Samar, Nada, Mirna, Luji, Matar, Kiki, Hania, Omar. Now we have Minna. Okay, I'll share. Go here. Yes. Yes, here. Can you see the screen, Mirna?
Yes.
Okay, this is a sheet in which I got the summary and the analysis of the 6 chapters from a site called Cliff Notes, if you know it. Okay, here, because we took much time, we should finish chapters 4 and 5 today. If we want to read chapter 4 only, it would take at least an hour. Chapter 5, I think the same. But we'll get the summary quickly, okay, just to finish or to cover chapters 4 and 5 in this session. I admit some other people. We have Danielle, Abul Farh, Yauta, Danielle, Abu, then Yauta. Okay.
Morning.
So let's on how Rashwan. Okay, let's read the summary quickly. Again, we said the preparation means preparing Lucy Manette to meet her father. The girl at this moment thinks that his father passed away. Okay, Maya. But it's Mr. Lurie's job to prepare the girl to receive her father, whom she thought had died a long time ago. We have 2 other guys in the room. Shah. Okay, Shahid who? Shahid Ibrahim. Okay, so it was Mr. Lurie's job to prepare the girl to receive such news. I'll read the summary of chapter 4. Mr. Lurie arrives at the Royal George Hotel. This is the name of the hotel at which or in which we can, by the way, we can stay in a hotel and stay at a hotel. Both prepositions are correct. Stay in, stay at. So this hotel, Royal George, it was for sure named after King George III, the then King of England. And over in the late morning or in the forenoon, the word we learn, forenoon, F-O-R-E-N-O-O-N, after freshening up, he spends the day relaxing and meditating on his mission while he waits for the young woman, Lucy Manette, to arrive. When Lucy arrives, Mr. Lurie introduces himself and proceeds to divulge or tell her, or let's say break the secret, or tell her the secret the nature of her involvement in his current business in Paris. The man is traveling on business in Paris. But what has she to do with this business? Apparently, Lucy's father, Dr. Alexander Manette, whom she believed to be dead. She believed that her father was dead at the time. He is alive. Okay, so the man divulged the nature of her involvement in his current business in Paris, and the girl thought that her father was dead, but he is alive, as we said. Yauta is trying to. Yauta, are you in now? Yauta. Okay, so her father is alive and has been secretly imprisoned. Why was he in prison? Nobody knows so far. In Paris for the past 18 years. The French authorities have recently released Dr. Manette. Dr. Manette has been released. Okay, but where is he now? Where is he now? He's living with his old servant, Monsieur Defarge. And Tilson's Bank is sending Mr. Lorry, this is the message he received, to identify the doctor, to see
Mister,
him.
can I just say something?
Who is that?
Yeah, Uta.
Yeah,
Mister, I wasn't late. I came at the beginning, but the internet connection got me out, so I entered again.
I have your name. I know you came at the beginning.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You were trying to join using two accounts, I think?
No,
I have
only
you
one.
are in the room now, and I have another Yahuta in front of me trying to joining. I accepted both, but Yahuta is still joining, and you are with us now.
Mister, I don't know what's the other name, but that's me.
This is why I was asking.
Glitches.
Mariam, Mariam has just joined. Okay, we have Mariam with us. Okay, let's go on. Sorry, we stopped here. So again, Mr. Lorry's mission was to identify Dr. Manette, identify and see him by face and say, yes, this is Dr. Manette, to identify, to know him, and who was one of Tilson's clients. And he has some deposits in the bank. He's a customer of the bank, okay? And bring him to the safety to England. So this was Mr. Lorry's and Lucy's mission. Mr. Lorry, sorry, was asked to prepare the girl to receive her father, whom she thought was dead, and to identify Dr. Manette because he used to be their customer 18 years ago and he knew him. This is why he was thinking all the time during his journey from London to Dover. How does the man look now? Being imprisoned for 18 years in a place which sees no sun, for sure has changed the features of his face, of his body, right? He must grow old, or he must have grown old, sorry, and his features have changed for sure. As the doctor's daughter, Lucy will be responsible for caring for him and nursing him back to health. It's the daughter's responsibility to nurse her father back to health. The story shocks Lucy. When put yourself in Lucy's place, she thinks that.
معلش يا مستر النت علق كان معلق يا مستر.
Excuse me.
النت كان معلق بس دخلت متأخر شوية.
دخلت في الأول أنا عارف. No problem. الناس اللي بتخرج وتيجي دي ما فيش مشكلة. محروق. Okay. The girl, put yourself in Lucy's place and tell me how you would feel if you're sure that لا قدر الله your father is dead for 15 or the girl is 17. Her father died when her mother was pregnant with her, right? Now her father has been in prison for 18 years and the girl is only 17. She was born after her father's death. This happens, okay? She hasn't seen him and she thought he died a long time ago. It was a hard job for Mr. Lorry. Can you imagine it? It was a hard job for him to prepare her or to tell her such news. The girl was shocked. The girl was shocked when Mr. Lorry tries to comfort her. She simply stares at him, gripping his arm. Concerned by her numbed state, she felt nothing. She was like unconscious. She fainted. Mr. Lorry calls for help. But before this, there is a point I didn't say. Mr. Lorry didn't tell her that your father died, your father is out of prison, or he didn't tell her that story directly. He told her about a friend who is a doctor and who was in prison for a long time and da da da. But the girl thought she was clever. She thought that this was her father's story, and Mr. Lorry has to admit it. Okay, she was shocked and she like fainted. A large red-haired woman. Can you tell me the name of this woman who came to help Lucy when she fainted? Okay, maybe this is Miss Pross, we're not sure, who was her, let's say, servant. She pushes. This woman was strong, was muscular, and she shoved Mr. Lorry away from Lucy. She thought that he caused this to her, but she was angry with him because the woman was very protective of Lucy. And into a wall, she shoved him into a wall and begins yelling at the inn's servants to bring smelling salts and cold water. You know, smelling salts, we use smelling salts, or which we call something like ammonia. In Arabic, I think we call it malh al-ammonia. It's the smell is strong, which makes any person who is unconsciousness to come back to himself or herself. The analysis: as Mr. Lorry emerged from his room at the Royal George, the curious servants hover nearby to see what he looks like after shedding his bulky winter coat. He was bundled in his coat and hat. Similarly, Dickens readers also wait for Dickens to reveal Mr. Lorry and his secret. As Dickens fills in the physical details of Mr. Lorry's person, he describes him. He is signifying that the details of Mr. Lorry's character and his mission will also soon be revealed. What you discover is that although Mr. Lorry insists that he is simply a man of business, he insists on this again and again and tells Lucy that I am a man of business with no more feelings than a machine. He, let's say, likened himself to a machine. He said, I am here on business and I am like a machine. He is actually a kind man. Internally, he's kind, who is deeply troubled by the Manette's situation. He feels for them, he sympathizes with them. His concern is apparent, is clear in his dreams about digging out in chapter 3, Dr. Manette, and in the gentle way in which he discloses, he divulges to Lucy that her father is alive. He initially presents her father's story as the story of an anonymous customer. He didn't tell her that this is the story of your father at once. No, he told her that this is the story of an anonymous customer to give her time to adjust herself to the shock or to the shocking news. Notice, however, that although Mr. Lorry's mission is no longer a secret, we know his mission now. We know exactly why he is traveling or was traveling from London to Dover, and the nature of the message he received and why he answered it this way. The resolution to one mystery leads to another. We have another mystery. Why was Dr. Manette secretly in prison? So far, we don't know why the man was in prison. We know now what the mission of Mr. Lorry is. We have some glossary, some vocab. We said morning, forenoon, the part of the day before noon. Al-Duha in Arabic, Al-Duha. Drawer here is a bartender or something like a waiter. Packet here means a ship or a boat, like the packet we use to travel from Port Fuad to Port Said and vice versa is called a ferry boat. Packet, a boat that travels a regular route or route, both pronunciations are correct, as along a coast or river, like the Suez Canal here, بورسعيد بور فؤاد معدية carrying passengers mail and freight. Freight means vehicles. Okay, Calais, you know Calais, we talked about Calais before, a seaport in northern France on the Strait of Dover, located across the English Channel from Dover. Claret, American pronunciation, claret, British pronunciation, a dry red wine, especially red Bordeaux. Okay, it's named after the French city of Bordeaux. Claret, it's also a color like, as we say in Arabic, لون النبيتي. Claret, because it took me much time to know how to say nibiti in English. You can say burgundy, it's also a drink, or claret. Linen, you know linen, it's a type of cloth made from flax. The plant is called flax, or kittan, Arabic. Piscatory, flavor. Piscatory means related to fish. This is an adjective related to fish. I think in Spanish, fish means piscota or something like that. Horsehair, a stiff fabric cloth made from the hair of the mane or tail of a horse. The mane is the hair on the neck, a horse's neck. Okay. Channel, the English channel here, of course. Pier glass, a tall mirror set on a pier or wall section between two windows, like a mirror at home between two windows, a tall one. Vevey, a town in France north of Paris. Pecuniary or pecuniary, involving money, related to money. Compatriot or compatriot, a fellow countryman, a person from your own country. The privilege, this is important here, the privilege of filling up blank forms. Read this definition. At that time in France, if you were an aristocrat, you had the right to send anyone from the poor people to prison without any reason. Members of the French aristocracy could issue warrants for the indefinite imprisonment of their enemies without a trial. Why? This is the way Mr. Manette was sentenced to 18 years in prison. Okay, because some guy, one of the aristocrats, sent him to prison without a trial. He was just locked in a room for 18 years without any trial. Grenadier wooden measure. This is a tall cylindrical measuring cup. Smelling salts. Smelling salts, we talked about the aromatic mixture, ammonia. By the way, the word ammonium is taken from the name of the Egyptian king Amun. Amun, okay? The son of the god of the sun or something like that. Hi. Guys, any question about chapter 4? I want to hear your voices, please. Any question? Say yes, say no, say whatever.
Not for
No.
me.
No.
11, complete silence. I'm sitting alone in grade 11. Can you imagine it? Okay, and it's cold in here. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move to chapter 5, the wine shop. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting chapter. The wine shop, now they are in Paris. They arrived in Paris now. And the wine shop is a shop owned by Monsieur Defarge. Can you remind me of who Monsieur Defarge is? Monsieur and Madame Defarge. Menna, yes, Menna, okay.
The wine shop owner and his wife, who was used to knitting, the name of the rebellion group.
Thank you very much. This is about his wife, and he is now the owner of the wine shop. But in the past, he used to be the servant of Dr. Manette. After Dr. Manette is released, he goes, or Monsieur Defarge takes him to live with him until Mr. Laurie and his daughter come and pick him. Okay, so why are Mr. Laurie and Lucy in the wine shop now? Because the owner of the wine shop used to be Dr. Manette's servant, and Dr. Manette, after being released, lives with him now in a small room in the on the 5th floor. So I read the summary quickly. A street in the Parisian suburb of Saint-Antoine, in the scene of chaos as a crowd gathers. Yani the chapter opens with this scene. A cask of wine or a barrel of wine, barmil, wine, red wine, okay, is spilled on the ground of the street. The poor people, what do you think the poor people do here? Sorry. What do you think the poor people do when they see expensive wine, red wine, spilled on the ground in the street? They ran to it and scooped it up. Sorry, Minna. Scooped it up with their hands, and tried to drink as much as they could because they were hungry, they were poor, and their hands, their faces. Imagine you get the wine from the ground with your hand and drink it with your hands. Your hands will become tainted with red, and faces red, and maybe your clothes are red. The ground is red, and this symbolizes something, guys. What do you think this red color symbolizes? Guess. It's very easy to guess, guys. Yes, I need more people. I have Myrna, Hania, Maya. Who else? What about the others? The others. Karim, are you with us now? Karim? Want to hear your voice, Kimo? Hi. Maya?
It
Maya?
symbolizes blood.
Blood. Good. Maybe. Myrna, would you like to add something, or Minna?
موجود يا مستر بس النت وحش بس.
Follow up, please. It's the problem of the internet all the time. Please, once I call your name, I want you to answer. This is to all of you. Maya, do you want to add something? Okay.
No.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you, Karim. Thank you, Minna. Thank you, Minna. So this red color symbolizes the blood. We are 14 years before the French Revolution. The French Revolution, the bloody French Revolution, is 14 years ahead from now. We are in 1775, and the French Revolution, one of the most famous revolutions in the recent history or modern history, it was a successful revolution, although it was a bloody one, because all the aristocrats, all the high class people were sentenced to the guillotine, as we will see later. Okay, this blood symbolizes, this red color, the color of the wine, symbolizes blood. Even one of the people in this district, this poor district of Paris, which is called Saint-Antoine, dipped his finger in the wine and wrote the word blood on the wall with his finger. Okay, blood, the blood, okay, which will be abundant in this area. And the crowd itself symbolizes the crowd in the street during the time of the revolution. Okay, let's go on. So, a street in the Parisian suburb of Saint-Antoine is the scene of chaos, or as a crowd gathers in front of a wine shop to scoop up pools of wine spilled from a broken cask. When the wine is gone, they finished it. Okay, the people resumed their everyday activities. They went back to their activities. Left behind, however, are the stains of the red wine on the street and the people's hands, faces, and feet, foreshadowing what? The blood, as Maya said, that will be spilled there in the same place in later years. Okay. Inside the wine shop, Monsieur and Madame Defarge converse. Converse means speak, have a conversation with 3 other men. So we have 5 people taking part in this conversation: Madame Defarge, Monsieur Defarge, and 3 other men, all called Jack. All of them are called Jack. Monsieur Defarge sends the men upstairs. Why were they all called Jack, guys? Can anybody tell? These were not their real names, okay? These were, let's say, appellations, just to hide their identity, because they were revolutionaries. Okay, this is why they named themselves Jack, Jack 1, Jack 2, Jack 3, Jack 4, and so on. Okay, got it? Monsieur Defarge sends the men upstairs. Why? To a chamber, to a room on the 5th floor to see Dr. Manette. Meanwhile, Mr. Lorry and Lucy have entered the shop, and after a brief discussion with Monsieur Defarge, they follow him upstairs to the 5th floor chamber where Dr. Manette is, where the three Jacks, I'm not sure whether to pronounce it. This is a French name. The three Jacks are looking inside through holes in the wall. The man, Monsieur Defarge, unlocks the door. He opens the door, and Mr. Lorry, and Lucy enter the room. Inside the darkened room, they see a white-haired man sitting on a bench making shoes. The man, Dr. Manette, forgot his name, forgot his job. He is a doctor, but now he is a shoemaker, sitting all the time on the bench making shoes. Analysis. Charles Dickens leaves no doubt that the crowd scene in front of the wine shop is a glimpse of things to come. The wine soaking into the street and smearing people's faces, hands, and clothes represents the blood that people will spill during the violence of the revolution. To reinforce, to strengthen that imagery, Dickens goes so far as to have one of the men in the crowd dip his finger in the muddy wine and write blood on a wall. Okay, as Dickens predicts future violence 14 years ahead from now, he also hints at how hunger, want, and anger will transform decent, caring human beings into unthinking, bloodthirsty animals. Okay, again, hunger, need or want, and anger will transform those decent guys to unthinking, bloodthirsty animals. Okay, this which shows that Dickens himself wasn't satisfied with the way those people had their revenge. He was against that the high class lives in pleasure all the time and neglecting neglects the lower class, and he was against the way the lower classes had their revenge. Okay, he describes some of the wine drinkers as having a tigerish smear about the mouth. Imagine that a tiger hunts a deer, and after he eats her, his mouth is smeared with blood. But he called this, all their mouths were smeared with blood like tigers, and the residents of Saint Antoine have a hunted air and harbor a wild beast through thought of the possibility of turning at bay. The image of the tiger will appear again later in the book, tiger whose mouth is covered in blood. As well, the vision of an oppressed people losing their humanity in their anger and quest for revenge. They are like tigers, okay, after eating its prey. This chapter also introduces Monsieur and Madame Defarge characters. This is the first time to have them, okay? That Dickens, so we have Cruncher, the messenger of the bank, Mr. Lorry, we have Lucy, we have Monsieur Defarge and Madame Defarge so far, and we talk all the time about Dr. Manette, but we haven't heard him talking yet. Characters that Dickens uses to embody the ideas and emotions of the revolution. Monsieur Defarge is a man of authority. He's stubborn, okay, as shown when he blames Gaspard for writing blood on the wall, and in his conversation with the three Jacks. He is in authority, okay? He is a man of authority. He acts like a leader here. He has a sense of leadership. Although Dickens describes Monsieur Defarge as good-humored looking, and Monsieur Defarge demonstrates kindness, okay, and loyalty to Dr. Manette, here we have a comparison between Monsieur Defarge and Madame Defarge. Comparing the woman to her husband, the woman is stricter, the man is good-humored looking, but the woman is not. She is harsher, she is stricter. When considering the injustice of the doctor's imprisonment, Monsieur Defarge becomes a secret, angry, dangerous man. In the subdued atmosphere of the wine shop, Monsieur Defarge's air of authority and resolution compared to his wife's are exceeded only by that of his wife. His wife exceeded him. Okay, she was again more authoritarian. She was more resoluted. Okay, although she doesn't say much, Madame Defarge communicates secretively with her husband through coughs and facial expressions. This is what she did. If she wanted to tell him something, she would cough or use her facial expression. She also seems more hardened than her husband does. While the plight of Dr. Manette enrages Monsieur Defarge, Thérèse Defarge, this is her first name, Thérèse Defarge remains unresponsive. She doesn't care. When Mr. Lorry and Lucy go with Monsieur Defarge to see the doctor, Madame Defarge knitted with nimble fingers and steady eyebrows and saw nothing. She was going on knitting the names of those aristocrats who humiliate us all the time, who oppress us all the time, okay, who did wrong to us all the time. Her weird, calm, and concentrated focus indicate a steadfastness. She wouldn't change her mind and determination that may, in the end, and she will be, because of this, something bad will happen to her at the end, prove more dangerous than the anger growing in the hearts of her husband and the populace of Saint Antoine. We have some glossary, some words here. Lee dye, you know dye when you color something, soaked with the dregs of the wine. This is the meaning of Lee dye. Jacques, the use of the name Jacques to signify French peasants began in the peasant revolts in, so it was a tradition, like a tradition or a custom. This starts in the revolution of 1358, when the peasants, for the revolution of the peasants in France, when the peasants used the name Jacques to maintain anonymity, okay, and to show solidarity. Rebels called each other by the same name. They were all Jacques. The network of rebels using the Jacques appellation is referred to as the Jacquerie. This, let's say, phenomenon was called Jacquerie in the history of the 1358 peasants revolution in France. Notre Dame, you know, Notre Dame means Our Lady, referring to Mary, a famous early Gothic cathedral, but this is the name also of a cathedral, Notre Dame de Paris. In Paris, the full name is Notre Dame de Paris. The window of dormer shape, a window set vertically in a sloping roof, like the attic, the top room of a villa or something. When the roof is sloping, and it has a window in it, this is called the window of dormer shape. So this is the, tomorrow inshallah we're going to do chapter 6, and this is the last chapter. The title is The Shoemaker. Of course, you know now who the shoemaker is. In the first session, inshallah, we'll go through the first 5 chapters again, as we did today in the first session, and in the second session we'll cover chapter 6, and this way we will have finished inshallah by tomorrow we will have finished book 1, 6 chapters. And as I said before, this is not in the exam. This is not in the exam. We don't have an exam aslan. And we'll start book 2, which has 24 chapters in term 2. And inshallah, this will start next Sunday. Any question before I end the session, guys? We still have about 4 minutes before the end of this session. I'm done. If you don't have questions, I do. If you don't have any questions, I do. We still have about 4 minutes. Guys. Right.
Mister, can we go back to taking grammar and stop taking the novel?
Maya again?
Can we go back to studying grammar and stop studying the novel?
You were bored with grammar and you said enough with grammar. I remember summer, enough with grammar, that's enough.
No, but this novel isn't nice.
It is. I like it myself. Okay, right. Thank you for your opinion, by the way. Guys, do you think this novel isn't nice? I need your opinion for a minute or two.
For
I
me,
feel
because I
like
take
it's
it before.
boring.
One at a time.
No,
Bassem?
no.
Bassem, do you like it?
I feel like it's kind of boring.
Okay, boring. Anya?
It's really boring. I don't like it.
Nada? No problem. Nada?
I think the same. It's boring.
Yes, the same.
Danielle?
The same boring.
You all think it's boring, but we have to study it. Thank you. No problem. Okay, thank you very much. I know most of the stuff you study is boring. Summer is joining at the end of the session. Okay, you can leave the room, guys.
It's not that. The plot itself doesn't seem that interesting.
No problem. No problem. Okay, but we still have to study it. I'm so sorry. Guys, you can leave the room. Thank you very much. I'll end the session in a second.
Boring.
Assalamu alaikum.